Hi, we've got Lauren with us today, and she's going to talk to us about compassion fatigue.
Hi, my name is Lauren and I have studied psychology. I'm very interested in animal welfare, having rescued several animals myself. Compassion fatigue is a key area that's often not discussed within the realms of animal rescue, and it's an important topic that I hope is enlightening to you. So, compassion fatigue was first defined by a psychologist called Figley in the early 1980s. And it was originally researched with medical professionals, and they characterized it as a cluster of symptoms that people with secondary PTSD experience or primary PTSD. So these are people who are exposed to trauma. And these days it's more widely applied to other categories, so social workers and in particular veterinarians and also um, animal rescuers. And although it doesn't have a technical definition in any diagnostic manual, it's seen as almost more important than burnout. Compassion fatigue occurs when, again, somebody is exposed to trauma repeatedly, and it's a cluster of symptoms like fatigue, so extreme tiredness, and also a repression of emotions, which is where the compassion fatigue term comes from. So you may feel numb. It can also lead to other symptoms like impulsivity, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and issues with sleeping. And a person with compassion fatigue may typically seem or feel like they are experiencing burnout. And burnout is more widely applied to workers or people who are working in general. And this is just where you're so busy that it stresses you out and you feel super tired. But compassion fatigue is different in the way that the numb aspect of it. So you don't necessarily feel passion about what you're doing anymore. You start to feel sad. You start to feel like you don't matter, or that the work that you're doing doesn't matter, which is a very crucial aspect of animal rescue. So I touched a little bit on some of the symptoms before, but the main characteristic is lack of empathetic engagement or emotional numbing. But there are many different side effects of compassion fatigue, and these span psychological and physical, and they can affect your everyday life. So some of the psychological aspects of it are lack of ability to empathetically engage. Physical symptoms might be sleep disturbance. It could be reliance upon coping mechanisms, unhealthy coping mechanisms, and like food related or perhaps alcohol related. And with animal rescuers and workers in general, there is a high percentage of compassion fatigue. A study showed that around 68% of workers in the veterinary field may experience compassion fatigue throughout their career. And this is why it's so important of an issue to address. So, one of the key areas that somebody can use for experiencing compassion fatigue is self awareness. So, just checking in with yourself, seeing where your energy levels are at, seeing how you feel about your work or rescue satisfaction. And then another key area is feedback from others and feedback from fellow rescuers or your colleagues, just to let you know how you're doing and checking in with you again on your mood and energy levels. So there are a few key strategies that can be implemented. Most of these focus around building resilience. So a key way to build resilience is to practice mindfulness. And this may be through yoga or meditation. Another way is journaling. And these help increase your self-awareness as well and your ability to see if you are experiencing compassion fatigue. Another way is to attend workshops and to educate yourself on what compassion fatigue is so that you can easily recognize it in yourself and in others. And also it's key to create a peer support group where you can support and uplift each other and educate each other on compassion fatigue. A key aspect that organizations can engage in is encouraging a supportive culture. And this can be through open discussions about mental health. And it's important that these take place without any stigma. Another way that they can help is by providing resources. So this could be working with mental health organizations and making sure that employees or workers know that they can access mental health services if need be. And another way that they can ensure that members are supported is through just adjusting workloads, making sure that no one person is overwhelmed. And even if one person does feel like they can take on a lot, just regularly checking in with them and making sure that they are okay with what they're doing and letting them know that it's okay to take a break. And the last thing that an organization could do is making sure that their supervisors or people in charge of the groups are educated and informed on compassion fatigue and knows how to recognize it in those who they're working with or who they're supporting. Self-care is essential for recovery from compassion fatigue, and it helps mitigate the effects of prolonged stress and replenishes physical and emotional energy. An example of self-care may be, again, with journaling or mindfulness practices, but this can be something simple like exercise, healthy eating, and ensuring a good sleep schedule. Another thing may be mental aspects of mindfulness. So these could be just taking time to sit with yourself and your emotions and checking in with how you're feeling. One of the key aspects that animal rescuers can do is setting themselves realistic expectations. So realizing that it's impossible to save every single animal and to focus on the successes that they have achieved. Another way that can be tough is creating emotional distance. So making sure that they're using strategies to avoid over-identification with animals' suffering and pain. And as harsh as it sounds, to perhaps practice emotional detaching, which is being able to maintain boundaries and also engaging in positivity practices. So celebrating the small wins and sharing success stories within the organization that they're involved with and with their peers. This is definitely an under-researched topic, but there is an organization called the Animal Rescue League in Boston, and they developed a peer support system to combat compassion fatigue within their workers and volunteers. And they did have a 30% success rate over a 2-year period. However, this is definitely an area that needs more focus, and it would be very important for the UAE to focus on this with their animal rescue organizations and to be able to provide mental health support for their rescuers.